Welcome. Thank you for joining me for this ECATS training session. Today we are going over the assessment summary page. But before we do that, please note that I am working on a training site, and as such, some of the links will be in a different location on my page than where they are on your page. Also, any documents that are referenced during this video are not real documents and do not reflect real students. I also want to draw your attention to our ECATS flow of IEP. So this is very important for us to pay attention to because ECATS IEP is a little different than what we're accustomed to in CCAS. As we look at the IEP, we notice that it starts off with meeting purpose, and then it goes into the student profile, assessment summary, source of relevant info, and so on. But each of those sections means something. The meeting purpose is your why. Why are we here? And then your student profile is your who. Who are we meeting about? And then your assessment summary and your source of relevant info answers the question what and when. What do we know, and when was the data collected? From there, you go on to your special factors page, and that is also your decision point. Because at the end of your special factors page, you're answering the question of, does it need specially designed instruction? Once we answer that question, if the answer is yes, we go on to the secondary transition and annual goals. From here, we're creating goal and answering the question, what is the expected outcome? And then you have the sections of services, services goal integration, accommodations, extended school year services goal integration. This answers the question of how and where. How do we help and where? And the last section of the IEP, you create the IEP. And it's always a good idea to create a draft before you create a final, just so that you can look over your document. As a reminder, we want to make sure that parents are given a draft 3 to 5 business days prior to the meeting so that they have time to review the document and give feedback. This will also help you to ensure that you have a much smoother meeting. So plan ahead. All right. By now, you should be logged into your student. If not, please take a moment to pause this video so that you can catch up and follow along. In order to get to where we are going, I'm going to go to my EC Process tab. I'm going to go down to IEP. I'm going to click on Assessment Summary. Here, we want to add in any information that we know about the student. This could be evaluation data, this could be observation logs, this could be progress monitoring data. We definitely want progress monitoring. We should never be writing the IEP without current information. So how do we add this? There are 2 ways to add assessment information. We can either add them individually or add a lot of them at a time. So let's start with adding multiple assessments. Assessment category special education, and you see a lot of assessments show up. Many people will choose to use the old eligibility determination page in order to add this, and that is great if that eligibility determination page has a lot of good information. But if that eligibility determination page only has 1 or 2 sentences and really does not give you a full look of what the assessment data was, then you will need to pull out the original assessment in order to get this information. So here I have my assessment example. So I have my assessment is about John Smith. Many of your assessments will have a lot of the student information and the test names at the top of your assessment, but then there are those that we get that do not, and you may have to go look for the information. So what I'm specifically looking for is what assessments were given. So I'm looking at contents, biographical details, and I'm going to scroll through this a little quickly because I am looking for the name of the assessment that was given. So here is my cognitive assessment, and it says I have the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children 5th edition. or as we call it, the whisk. So I'm going to go back to my ECATS. And I could go through and try to search for every little thing, but I'm going to hit Control F so that I can search the page as a whole. And I am looking for the whisk, W-I-S-C, and there, it pops right up. I see that there are 3 entries, so I'm going to look at each one because I'm specifically looking for the 5th edition. This one is the 4th. And here we have the 5th. So I'm going to click here. And the other thing I want to add is progress monitoring. So just like before, once I've checked this, it will not uncheck itself. So just like before, I'm going to search. And here I see progress monitoring is already entered. Now that I have it, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and click Add Areas and Scores. Now I want to give the actual date that was administered, and I'm also going to get this directly from my evaluation, or my assessment rather. So I'm going to go back to this progress monitoring, and I note that there are multiple dates. So I'm actually just going to choose the last date, 10/17. So my date is 10/17. The assessment area is progress monitoring. And then it asks me, what is my subject area? So I'm going to look at this progress monitoring. And I see it talks about reading at the instructional level, the objective, literary text, picture choices, corresponding key details. So this is talking about comprehension. So my area is reading comprehension. And in here, there's a text description. And I also believe there's a percentile. Yep. Awesome. And then for my psychological, hit the black plus sign in order to open it up. I need the date and the assessment area. Of course, I know that this is a psych, so that's easy. I also know that it's going to give me a text description and standard scores. And I'm going to grab that date, which is 11/9/2018. November. As a reminder, you are always welcome to pause the video anytime if you miss anything or simply need to back up. And now that I've added in that information, I'm going to save and continue. Now, both of those evaluations have been added to my screen. Since it looks like it did not take my date. November 9th. There. All right. So we have assessments that are added. Now what do we do for the information that's in the assessments? Well, we simply go to the assessment that we added, click Details, and now we can add in our narrative. For me, when it comes to a psychological, I'm going to use the same language that my psychologists use. So I have an overview. It talks about the subtest. And doing this means I need to read the information. We never want to go into a meeting and talk about information and have no idea what we're talking about. So I see the scores. I see the test behavior. More scores. And I'm specifically looking for the summary statement, which normally summarizes everything that is in the evaluation. Because in that box, I don't need every little thing, but I do need to have a good idea of what is in the evaluation. And it looks like test behavior. It looks like this is going to be my data. Hit Control C to copy it. And there, my information is in there. Now you will want to go back and make sure that you clean this up a little bit to take out all the extra spaces. But once I'm done, I hit save and continue. Now there is another way to add an assessment, and I click add assessments. So here I can add the same assessments. Let's say it's a social developmental history. And I'm going to look for social developmental history under other. There it is. I click enter. Text description. And you're able to describe it here in the comment box, or you can wait until you get back to the other screen. But if I have custom assessments, let's say you're entering CDA scores, that custom assessment tab is right beside the assessment tab. And this is CDA scores. This is for math. Standard score, grade equivalent, text description. And I can put all of the information right there. Awesome. Once I'm done, I want to hit save and continue. You'll see that even though I navigated between two different screens, both my CDA scores and my social developmental history are here. Since the CDA score was a custom, it does not have an assessment area yet, so I want to go ahead and add that. That is also progress monitoring. And I do want to make sure I have the date. 16th and 9th. And if for some reason you forgot to add details, you can always click on the details button and add your narrative. And save and continue. So that is how you add assessments. If you are doing progress monitoring, you do want to make sure that you add it to this screen, because on your next screen you will organize all of this information. So classroom-based assessments, quizzes, tests, all of that you want to add that here. If you're adding quizzes and tests, add assessments, custom assessments, ELA, quiz scores, and my quiz scores are in writing, standard scores, and I'm going to say something about it. Put in my comments, which is also my narrative. I hit save and continue. And just in case you're unsure, and that quiz score is progress monitoring, click on the date it was done. And when I click on details, I will see that the comment box on the other screen is the same as the narrative box on this screen. So I am good to go. Save and continue. And once this is all complete and you are satisfied, you hit save and continue, and you moved on to the next section. Thank you for joining this session of ECATS training. That is our training for assessment summary.